Hey YouTube, what's going on? Today we're taking that xenomorph that I painted up from a previous video, and we're starting to build a diorama for it. In order to do that, I want to have some Geiger eggs in it, and I really like the way this looks, but I don't like the way the NECA avocados look from Aliens. The redesign was not my favorite. So basically, we're going to take this and try to turn it into this. So let's check that out.
Behold my stuff.
All right, so the first thing we wanted to do was basically, we wanted to use this Geiger egg. This was a custom sculpt that I picked up online. It's a good scale. It has all the details that I wanted. The ones from NECA are fine, but they basically look like avocados. And so in Aliens, they sort of redesigned it, and I wasn't wild about it. So I decided I wanted to basically turn one of these into one of those. So the first thing we had to do was make a mold, which we did. And then I filled that mold with foam clay. Nothing special, just standard fancy foam clay, but you don't want to fill it entirely with foam clay, and the reason you don't want to do that is because it'll never dry, and it takes up a lot of your foam clay. So instead, I foamed the edges of the mold, and then I just stuffed one of these eggs up in there, and used that as your basic base. They're just simple makeup blending tools, and that worked out pretty good. You can see the base in there. It didn't get full coverage, so I got to patch that up, but I got my details. So now I want to basically make the mouth open. Now some of these details are going to have to be brought back a little bit, and I can add foam clay after, but the texture and everything is pretty good. So we're going to take an X-Acto knife, and we're going to cut into the egg. Now, the way you do the mold is you do the mold, you put the clay in, you go freeze it overnight. Once it's frozen, pop the sucker out of the mold. Once you've done that, you can then leave it out and let it thaw so that it's not wet. If it's wet, you're going to manipulate the details, so it has to dry. But it will dry, at least the shell of it will dry in the detail. The thinner the amount of foam clay you use, the more thoroughly it dries. The more foam clay you pack in, the less the middle dries and becomes spongy. So we do the cut. And now you just want to take your X-Acto knife and free this up. You can already see on the inside it's a little gooey. So we're going to have to use our knife to sort of manipulate the pieces as we start to open it. Because as I said, only the outside is really going to have that hard shell. And the rest of it is going to be pretty pliable. So we're going to start to make sure it's cut low enough. If you overcut it or anything like that, it's not the end of the world. Like I said, for the most part, you're going to be able to manipulate this. So we're going to pull back. We're going to stick it in there and pull it back a little bit. Pull it back a little bit, pull it back a little bit, and there's a lot of clay still in there that's very, very wet. So I'm going to use a screwdriver, various other little tools, and kind of smush it down a little bit. Try to free up some space in there. And what you're trying to do is push the clay to the walls of the egg on the inside, so that when you bend these pieces and you fold them over, like that, there's space. And so it's not the best method in the world, but it will give me the look that I want. And once you get it the way you want, you gotta sort of texture the inside a little bit. That needs a little bit more. We don't need that. So once you get it the way you want, you gotta make sure it's gonna stay in place and have that kind of look. So unfortunately, it's kind of got a scoop in the middle there. That's not what we want, so we're gonna have to go in and smush the foam clay down in the edges, go around so that it gets kind of a ball look to it. And again, always smushing down and away, down and away. We are going to see a little bit of our core that I stuffed in there. And again, this is just for a dio, so this is nothing special. It's nothing too crazy. I'm going to pinch flat some of the insides of these lips so that when they peel away, they're not too thick. Thickness is bad. There's also the possibility that there just might be too much foam clay in there, in which case we're going to have to try to get some out. But I think I could accomplish what I want just by pushing down and away, as I said. And so we do. And then again, nice and thin, peel and pull, nice and thin, peel and pull, nice and thin, peel and pull, push down what you don't want. But we do need to texture the inside. That has to have the texture. So that's more than enough to get a face hugger in there. So if we compare this to this, the whole size is pretty good. So what we want to do now is we have to determine whether or not we want this to completely peel over. I think we do. I think we want to peel over. And there's a couple ways you could accomplish that. One of it is just a touch of glue. We'll knit these together, which I think we may want to do. So why don't we do just a touch of... I'm going to use an SI black glue and a touch of activator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray activator on the base of where the glue is going to go. So the piece that's going to fold over. So I'm going to activate, glue, fold the glue onto the activator. And that should basically accomplish my task. We'll test this side first. Some of you may be thinking right about now that this is excessive, and it's like, why in God's name would you be putting this much effort into doing this? And I'm super particular about my dio right now. I want it to be Giger. I don't want aliens. I have nothing against aliens. I like the movie Aliens. But my dio is about the big chap, and it's about the life cycle of the big chap, and it's about, as my dog barking her head off, it is about honoring Giger's work. So I'm not super interested in anything different. Now this is the part where I'm going to use some of the alien egg from the Cameron version that NECA did, and just sort of give it a little bit of texture. Nothing crazy, because as I said, I need to hollow this all out anyway. Get the glue out of here. We don't need that anymore. I think I'm going to switch over to a tool that I use a lot for foam. I mostly use these for cutting styrofoam, but they do come in handy working with foam clay. And this will sort of give me, very nice. And you can see there's a little bit of bleed over there. And it needs some texture. So I'm going to use this to texture. This will require additional detailing, of course, but this will more than accomplish what I need for right now. There we go. Let's, it doesn't really light well. So with that, you can see the texture, and now we have the Giger-esque egg. And so it just has a little bit more going on, closer to what I wanted from HR Giger. And of course, this is what we're going to use. We're going to repaint our little facehugger, and he's going to be popping out of that. So I wanted to make sure that it could fit that as well, because that's what's going in there. So that's super important. So again, I want to make sure that there's room. So I'm just going to kind of continue to wedge pieces of that out. So I got some space in there for the tail, which I do. The base doesn't really matter to me that I took from this, because I'm going to resculpt it anyway. Let's go ahead and put some foam clay on some of the patches, because we need to fill those. And so we're just going to fill in the spots that got screwed. Spread it out on the egg. Push it down onto the base. You won't even notice. That is what I do like about foam clay, is you can manipulate it. It does take well to the process. And there was a little spot over here. Just needs a little bit. I do not know what she is barking about, but I will go find out. And so now we have a Giger egg that will support a facehugger. Looks like there's a little bit of an indent right here, so I'm going to take just a wee bit of foam and bulk that out. Perfect. So now we've got our Giger egg. It's opened, it's yawning, it's going to accomplish what I need it to accomplish. It's going to look the way I want it to look, making my diorama just a little bit more unique than the standard NECA ones, which is also good, because not everything has to be NECA. But if you look at the two, once I add all the webbing and stuff like that, this will paint up and be much closer to this, and then we're in pretty good shape. So next phase is to let this dry out the way I've set it up now and harden out, and then we can completely redo this base. We can completely change and texturize anything if I wanted it done so. Take a sponge, actually. Just sort of sponge out some of these spots, because some of these spots not quite as smooth. A little smoother than I wanted. Yeah, that's better. So now we just let that dry, and the next phase will be painting it. We're going to seal it with a sort of PVA glue paint mixture, and then we're going to curl this guy up and have him springing out, and that's going to be part of the diorama, and he sits with his big chap. So the scale is kind of what I'm looking for, and so I may use just this and repaint it, and that's all she wrote, or I may make a mold of this guy too and use thermoplastics to make another one, and then make a facehugger model for somebody, and have that guy, you know, cocooned up against the wall. But we didn't really get that in Giger's original Works with Alien, it just sort of was more, Kane laying on the table, then the facehugger fell off, then the chest burster happened. So I could just get a figure and have the chest burster pop out. So I don't know. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we won't. But in general, this is a lot of effort for a very small thing. But sometimes that's what you want to make your diorama stand out just a little bit more than everybody else's. So do you want to waste all that silicone and a custom egg when you could just buy one of these from NECA? Probably not. Some people may just buy these, sculpt over these, and make a more Giger-esque one. If that's your jam, knock yourself out. But this is what we're going to do. So let's see how we do. All right, so phase 1 is done. So we've got our Giger egg. The edges are folded over. And I threw in the facehugger just to get a look of how that's going to look popping out. I think that's going to look great in the diorama. All right. And when we get to the final product, after we have airbrushed and painted, we've painted the facehugger. I think that came out really good. Got some advice from my friend Ryan on how to touch him up and make him look just a little bit better. We've added a lot of drips with hot glue. Not all these are going to hang around. I think I'll cut some off, but the effect is exactly what I wanted. And then the hot glue adds all the gunk, and the facehugger's jumping out. It makes for a really nice dynamic look. We can go in and do a little work with some of these. I'm actually going to take a white dry brush and hit some of these webbings to make them just a little whiter, a little less transparent. Some of the slime will keep translucent, but some of the stuff sitting over the webbing will make a little whiter. Overall, it's a great finished look. So let's go ahead and finish this up and just throw it in the diorama just to see what it looks like. All right. And here is the final glamour shot here. So we've got all the runny bits with white highlights on them now, hanging off the facehugger. You really get a nice sort of gnarly organic look. And so what we want to do now is just sort of grab two of our elements that we're putting together for the diorama, which are nothing too fancy right now. It's just, we'll go over this in another video. This is a quick wall that I've thrown together. Let's prop this up, so to speak. And we'll adjust the lighting ever so slightly. And so once you get it in the setting, I mean, that looks pretty gnarly. Next to the acid stain on the floor. Maybe even getting some green on the drip would be like super on point. If we get Big Chap in here, sort of supervising that, and we get a wall back here or a wall over here and set these figures up. This is going to look really nice. So this is getting kind of cool. Yeah, I'm really happy with this. This looks good. Okay, and that is how we finished up making a custom egg. Kind of interesting. Overall, I didn't show my paint process this time around. Really just kind of was figuring it out as I went along, and if I time-lapse that whole video, the trial and error didn't really make for a good video. So instead, what I did was I just showed you guys the end of it, and then now that I have a process and I know how I want to do it, I may do one later. If you guys are interested in seeing how to make the egg for yourself, as far as the painting goes, you can hit me up. I will tell you flat out, I didn't do a ton of dry brushing with this one. I did a lot of airbrushing. And there are other videos out there that show you how to airbrush an alien egg. So as much as I like what I did, it doesn't really add anything to the internet for me to just make another one of those videos. The only thing that's unique to mine are the colors that I chose, which I'm more than happy to show off in a later video. So that wraps up the how to do a facehugger egg, a custom egg. And you saw it in the dio. It's starting to take shape. I will do a whole video on just the dio, how I painted it, what I use it for. some of what I threw together for the Dio parts. I'm still figuring out how the walls need to look because it needs to be taller. I need to put some pipes and things in there. I also have pieces set up for a door. And then I need some more elements, but I will show off the Dio closer to the end of the year. I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks in October. So, well, really a week, but I'm not going to be doing any sort of book building or anything. I need a break from building. I'm actually doing this right now while I got a cover curing. So I'm just kind of doing this in piece parts when I can. I had a couple of my friends over. They were helping me out with some, reference material and whatnot. So I'm pretty happy with how these are shaping up. The Dio's coming along really well. I don't know what other alien props I'm going to have, but I can say I am very excited to do an entire themed month. Have all my videos, have multiple videos in a month and have them all be about one franchise or one topic. I think that's kind of fun. So that's kind of what this is all about. If you're enjoying the alien stuff, please comment below and tell me. I won't ask you to subscribe or anything like that because I don't give a shit about monetizing my channel. I just make this crap mostly for me. But if it helps anybody, if it helps one person do a thing, that's an even added bonus as to why this can be online. Thanks, guys, for visiting. Thanks for checking it out. As per always, if you cannot build it, you can buy it. And if you cannot buy it, maybe you could build it. But sometimes if you do both, you can make some cool stuff. I do like that. Yeah.